Hey, welcome back. I'm Andrew at St. Croix Cards, and this is On the Road to the FIFA World Cup, powered by SlabStox. This is episode number 6, and you know what? We are 39 days away from the World Cup. I am so excited. I'm a little sick. I'm a little under the weather, so I apologize if I sound scratchy here today. But we have so much time to talk today about the important stuff, right? Here we have an injury report to get to. We got to look at Group D. We still have 5 more groups to take a look, to analyze, to see some of the players. 5 more groups before the World Cup. We got to talk today who's hot, who is definitely not, but maybe not a panic yet. And then, we're going to look at what are the predictions? What do we think is going to come out of Group D? And then we'll call it a week. But we have so much to talk about. Let's just gas it up. Let's get going. Let's get on the road to the World Cup. And we start today with a little bit of unfortunate news. And this is big if you are rooting for Argentina to do extremely well or move far in the World Cup. Pablo Dybala is injured. And I hate to say again, but again, this is just super unfortunate. I really love watching Dybala play. He's so dynamic, so technical. Loved watching him at Juventus. Really was off to a great start at Roma in Serie A. And then all of a sudden picks up a knock, picks up an injury. He's looking at 4 to 6 weeks recovery time. And you know what that means. That means it's a race against the clock. Can he get fit enough to be taken to Qatar with Argentina? I don't know. It's looking really bleak right now, but that attacking Argentinian front line, I think they need Dybala to be there, to be that attacking force. Now, I know they got Messi, I know, and I didn't talk about him last week when I had the chance in Argentina, and part of my thought process was injuries tend to follow this guy everywhere he goes. And here he does, picks up another knock, and he's looking like he's not going to make the World Cup. The other one we got to talk about, Kyle Walker, just had surgery. He's in doubt of the World Cup as well, and he is fighting for a spot at right back. There are 3 options for Gareth Southgate in Qatar, I think, at right back. He is one of them. Maybe you can guess the other 2. For me, the starter really needs to be Reece James. I just think he's the best all-around right back. Now, some of you might be looking at me going, you're crazy. You got to take Trent Alexander-Arnold. Nah, for me, watching some film here in just the last couple of weeks, watching him play on the defensive, Trent Alexander-Arnold, right back for Liverpool, looks great going forward, but he seems to just lose focus and maybe sometimes gets out of place in the back, gives up a couple goals. As an Arsenal fan, kind of watching him, this last week, I just think that England would be best served with Reece James. And then the question becomes, do you take Trent Alexander-Arnold or do you take Kyle Walker? Well, if Kyle Walker's injured and he, again, is trying to kind of come back to full health before the World Cup, it is going to be kind of a wait and see. I like experience. I think that goes a long way. Just the amount of time he's played and the amount of caps he has for England, I think he would be well served as a veteran leader on that team. But I am not Gareth Southgate. I don't get to make that decision, but it'll be interesting to see if Kyle Walker finds his way on that final roster. And then the final one here might be really under the radar if you're not a Bayern Leverkusen fan. Sardar Azmoun is an Iranian striker who plays for Bayern Leverkusen. He is out of the World Cup. He is not going to play in the World Cup, and he is out, which means the burden of the striker role falls to, I'm forgetting his name right now. He is a striker for Porto. He's off to a great start, but really it's not a two-striker attack anymore. Sardar Azmoun is out of the World Cup, which could be a big blow for Iran. Is it a death blow? Are they not going to be able to move on? No, that's not what I'm saying. But when you lose the depth and you lose the ability to bring on a striker who can really make a difference, that is going to play a role in the World Cup. If you're interested in this one, you might be a little bit more than normal because Iran is in the same group as Wales, England, and of course the U.S. men's national team. So those are our big injuries, but we have to talk about Group D. Look at Group D, and there is the reigning World Cup champions in France. I think they got a pretty good draw here in Group D. They're sitting there with Australia, Denmark, and Tunisia. We're going to break this down. We're going to look at some players that maybe you want to keep an eye on. Maybe you've already seen them in product, and maybe, just maybe they might have an opportunity to make a splash in the World Cup. So there's our group. We're going to start with Tunisia. We're going to move into Denmark, and then we'll finally finish up today with France. So you might be wondering who could possibly be on Tunisia's team. This team is ranked 30th in FIFA. There's one name that I want to bring up to you. Hasn't gotten off to a flying start. Hannibal Mejbri is in the Manchester United Academy, and you are going to see him in products in 2021 and 2022. He is in that top flagship that is not the Chrome. You also see him in Topps Chrome as well. He's got autos. He's got color. I just want to bring him to your attention. He's 19 years old. He plays in the midfield. He's currently on loan at Birmingham City, and he hasn't really gotten off to a flying start in the championship. I think he's played in something like 7 games, no goals, no assists, but he might feature in Tunisia's midfield when we look at Qatar. Now, looking at pricings, real simple. He's got that Topps flagship auto. It's numbered out of 200. You can pick that up for $39.99 as of September 12th. And then he has a rose gold out of the Topps Chrome of this year. Rookie logo is on the card as well. And that's out of 125. And you can pick that up for $25. Now, am I saying that he's going to show up at the World Cup and just set the world on fire? Not what I'm saying. But at 19 years old, and possibly could feature in a couple games, you could see maybe his quality, get more eyes on him. And at 19, he's very, very young. His entire future is ahead of him, and he's in a great academy with Manchester United. So it's a wait and see for me on Hannibal Mejbri, but it's an option if you're looking for maybe a more cheaper option. Now, Denmark is really intriguing to me this year. They're in the top 10 in FIFA's rankings. They're actually 10th overall, and there's got a lot of young players. I think they do a great job of balancing this younger side, coupled with some veterans that are in the side as well. They've got great balance. I was in the live with Aaron and Nate a little over a week ago, and somebody in the chat said, have you looked at Denmark's young players? We're going to look at them right now. Now, if I'm missing one, if I'm sitting there kind of over analyzing and I miss one completely, please drop it in the chats below. Would love to know your thoughts as we look at Denmark's kind of roster and players that could make a difference. The first one, Jesper Lindstrom. He does play for Frankfurt in the Bundesliga. Again, 21, 22. He's got his rookie cards here. The first one, if you're not looking, is his Topps Finest. This is a black refractor out of 199, just recently sold. This is raw, September 21st, sold for $15. So if you're big in on Jesper Lindstrom, or you're looking for younger players, I believe he's around 22, might be a value play at $15. He also has other cards as well. The Topps, kind of the flagship, the paper product. He's got some cards in there as well. This Aquafoil I put up there as well. Out of 199, October 3rd, it sold for $19.99. So pretty cost effective if you're looking for guys who might make an impact or a difference for Denmark or for some other players. Just some guys to keep an eye on and their pricings for you. I would be remiss if I didn't bring up Christian Eriksen. I cannot tell you all how excited and how thankful I am to see Christian Eriksen play for Denmark at the World Cup. You rewind 2 years, just 2 years ago, and it was probably one of the scariest moments I've ever watched live in a football match. Maybe some of you have different ones, but watching Christian Eriksen collapse on the field during the Euros of 2020, and to see where he's come in just 2 years, to be back on the pitch, playing for Man United, and going to represent his country in Denmark in the World Cup. I am just really excited for him and that he has this opportunity to play in the World Cup. I'm not going to analyze every card of Christian Eriksen. I don't know how much he would have to do to really move the needle of his cards. But I did want to point out, if you're a fan of Christian Eriksen, there are cards out there. You can find them, and they're relatively cost effective. One of his Euro autos, his silver disco auto, his raw auto, just sold September 8th for $39.95. He does have product in 2018 Prism World Cup. His blue laser out of 125. Again, that's raw. Sold September 29th for $30. So if you're a fan of Christian Eriksen, if you're a fan of Denmark, you can pick up some really, really neat, cool, aesthetically pleasing cards of Christian Eriksen. I don't know what he would need to do to really push that needle forward. He'd have to have a pretty incredible World Cup. Now, there are two names that I'm going to leave Denmark with today, and I don't know who was it that said it in the live chat about how Denmark has some young talent. They do. They've got some great young players, and the first one I want to bring to your attention is Andres Skov Olsen. Played for a while at Bologna, is now on Club Brugge. He's playing in the Champions League. He started in the draw against Atletico Madrid. They are winning their group in the Champions League. They haven't lost yet. They've got 10 points, and he has been in the midfield. Really want you to kind of look out for him. Early 20s. He does have cards in that score European release. You're seeing his blue laser on the screen. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening, this is his most recent. This is 2021, 2022 score. It's out of 49. You don't have any sales because I pulled this right from eBay and it hadn't sold yet. I don't know if it's sold since, but I wanted you to see the card. I did also check the checklist for Mosaic and for NT, and I did see that he has a card in the National Treasures of the World Cup. It's just an interesting play in that Denmark team. I think they have potential to make a run, and I think that they might surprise a few people in the unexpectedness. We'll talk about that here toward the end. And then the last one is Rasmus Højlund. He's a 19-year-old striker. He plays for Atalanta in Serie A. He's scored a couple goals for them this year, but he has no cards. I didn't see him in the Mosaic checklist. I didn't see him in the NT checklist, but he's a name that you just might want to put in the Rolodex, Rasmus Højlund, and say, you know what? I got to circle back to this kid and maybe just be very attentive to what he's going to do, if he's going to do anything in the World Cup. But those are two young guys that I think that we could also look for and kind of analyze during the World Cup. Finally, last but not least here today, we got to talk about the reigning World Cup champions, and that is France. They are ranked 4th in FIFA. They are one that is expected to do well, if not win the World Cup. But I think, personally, if they are going to win the World Cup back-to-back years, it's going to rely on if and only if N'Golo Kante is in their midfield. Now, you might say they got so many options in the midfield. Everywhere this guy has gone, he has made his teams better. 2015, he was locking down the midfield for Leicester City. He moves to Chelsea. Integral part in that team winning the Champions League. 2018, he is in the midfield as France wins the World Cup. I think N'Golo Kante is extremely important for whatever team he plays in. Now, the card that I just have on the screen right now is the 2016 Topps Premier League Gold. This is his rookie auto. It is CSG. It was sold July 17th for $115.20. The reason I bring up this card in particular is I couldn't find any other autos of N'Golo Kante. Now, maybe I wasn't looking hard enough. If you know of other autos of N'Golo Kante, please let me know. But whatever I could find was either just a straight auto or a patch auto out of 26 Topps Premier League Gold. If you're an N'Golo Kante fan, obviously he doesn't sign a whole lot. And so this could be an opportunity. Not only does he not sign a whole lot, but this is his auto. It's his rookie auto, and it has the rookie logo on the card. So really interesting. This was I failed to mention it, this is the CSG 9.5, but just a very iconic card for N'Golo Kante. And I know he's got a little bit of earlier stuff. I think he has a 2015 Topps card for Leicester. He's got some stickers out there as well. But I just thought this, as a guy who doesn't seem to sign a whole lot, if you're looking to collect N'Golo Kante or you're looking for France players, I think if he is healthy, big if, Graham Potter came out this week and kind of said he had a little bit of a setback. For France to win it all, I think they have to have N'Golo Kante in the midfield if they're going to do that. But they do have other options, and if you're also looking at N'Golo Kante in other avenues, again, you can find some really great cards of N'Golo Kante for relatively cheap. Now, you can get a raw 2019-2020 Topps Finest. This is a blue refractor. This is his color match. I believe on Topps Finest, the blues are out of 150. That sold September 19th for $13.99 raw. And even some newer stuff, 2020, 2021 Prism Premier League. His fireworks, his orange out of 25. This is an SGC 9.5. May 15th, now before the injury, before the summer, sold for $55. So if you're looking for numbered or short, paralleled N'Golo Kantes, they're out there and they're relatively cost effective if those are the guys that you're looking at. Now, if you're looking, 31-year-old N'Golo Kante really doesn't do it for me. There are some young, talented French midfielders coming up. We're going to talk about two of them, and they just so happen to play for the same team in Real Madrid. The first one is Aurelien Tchouameni. I hope I said that right. I've been working on that. I probably didn't, and if I didn't, you can let me know. But he has rookie cards in Merlin this year. I love Merlin, as I said. I've said that before in other episodes. This is Pink Mojo. If you're looking at the screen, if you're just listening, Pink Mojo out of 275, sold for $21.99 on October 10th. And then he's got an Aqua Refractor, same set of Merlin 21-22 out of 199. That sold October 9th for $27. Both are raw, but if you're looking for Tchouameni, he might be an interesting prospect. He's 22, plays for Real Madrid. Real Madrid said goodbye to Casemiro, kind of stuck him in the midfield for the future. I think he could do really well there. The one caveat I have with Tchouameni is that he's a defensive midfielder. He's not going to score you heaps and heaps of goals out of the midfield. He's going to lock down. He's going to protect the defense. He's going to find the passes forward, but he's not going to be that kind of brilliant goal scoring, technically, pushing the ball always toward the opposing half. So just be, I think you got to know what you're going to get into. But winning a World Cup and being a part of a team that could possibly win the Cup could be a big deal. So that is the first one. The second one, of course, is the 19-year-old. That would be Eduardo Camavinga. And I think this kid has a bright future ahead of him. Like I said, he's 19. Think about this. Tchouameni, you've got Camavinga, you've got Valverde. You've got a very young midfield ready to take over at Real Madrid, with still having some of those great veteran players to learn from. I mean, these guys are coming into the training pitch every day and working with Toni Kroos and Luka Modric. I mean, could you ask for anything better? Camavinga, he's got some autos in 2020, 2021 Merlin. This is the Mojo out of 99, PSA 9, sold August 29th for $222.50. if that's way out of your price range, if you're saying, yeah, I can't afford that, and you still want to get on the Camavinga train, he's got his base Sapphire out of 2020, 2021 Topps Chrome Sapphire, PSA 10. Last one sold October 11th for $76. But again, 19 years old, a lot of career ahead of him. Hopefully it's a great career. The one thing I would be cautious about Camavinga is he going to be on the team in Qatar? We don't have final rosters. He is 19th. We don't know, we don't know what the managers are thinking at this point, who comes, who goes. I would hope that he makes the team, if nothing else, than to learn and gain the experience in Qatar. But time is going to tell, and time is going to tell really soon, because some of these teams are going to start to kind of lock down their final rosters as we turn it over into early November. So keep an eye on Camavinga and Cheikhwini as they play for Real Madrid. See if they're getting some playing time, and then will it transfer in Qatar here shortly. That leaves us with the man that seems to be always in the news. And let me just pause real quick and maybe just remind ourselves not to believe everything we hear. Now, the news sources coming out right now, everything I'm hearing is Mbappé wants out. Now, Mbappé doesn't want to be at PSG anymore. And there could be some substantial, accurate information coming out of there. But what I have learned as an Arsenal fan is you can't believe everything you hear, because if everything I heard from a transfer window perspective in Arsenal, we would have every single player under the sun. We're linked to everybody. Every transfer window, it's like Arsenal is going to sign this player and this player and this player and this player. And they don't, and it's based off of information or news sources, and it never comes to reality. So one of the things I'm going to say is, let's just be cautious and what's coming out in the media. And for me, it seems that for a lot of media, you need a villain. And right now, Mbappe unhappy and wanting out of PSG, he can kind of play the villain card versus the superhero of Haaland right now, just scoring goals, and everybody's, look at how fantastic a player he is. And he is. He's playing well. He's scoring tons of goals. People love watching him. But if you have a superhero, you tend to need a villain. I seem to remember even at times where Ronaldo was painted as a villain. Even this summer, look at our news sources, how unhappy he was at Manchester United. Was there some truth to that? Maybe. But if Ronaldo didn't want to be at Manchester United, all he needed to do was probably come out in the media and say, I don't want to be here anymore. Send me somewhere else. If he would have made it vocal and very open to the public, I'm sure he might have gotten a move away. But the media ran with these stories, and I think they're running with this Mbappe story about him not wanting to be here. But we have to take a look at a very young, a very talented, a very good goal scorer in Kylian Mbappé. And I think, for me, I could have chosen the sticker from 2016. I decided not to. I'm staying more towards the cards. But I wanted to look at 2017 Topps Chrome UEFA. I love this set. I really, really love this set. In full disclosure, I have a BGS 9.5 base Mbappe rookie that I spent way too much money on at the height of the market, and I'm very underwater on, but I really don't care because I love watching Kylian Mbappe play. I love holding a piece of cardboard with one of his earliest cards on it. Well, would I like that card to go up? Sure. But I really am invested, and I really think that this kid is special, and we've already seen it. Look at what he's been able to accomplish in League One, in the Champions League. Hasn't won the Champions League yet, but has scored goals upon goals in the Champions League and has a World Cup win. I think that is also just a big, check mark in his career already, and he's got so much more to give. Anyway, let's get into kind of the Topps Chrome. This is, and we're going to dive a little bit deeper into these, but this is his PSA 10 base 2017 Topps Chrome rookie card, selling last one October 11th for $274. On the flip side, there are refractors in that set as well. If you don't know, that refractor PSA 10 of Kylian Mbappé, last one sold October 11th as well for $1,950. I want to break it down just to kind of see the sales over time and also just a little bit more information. I think you always got to do your due diligence, do your research as you're looking at cards that you may want to invest in, or maybe you just want to purchase, an early Kylian Mbappé. This card in particular has a pop of 988. But you can see in the sales graph that we've consistently moved in a downward projection over the past year, where these cards used to be upwards of $700-800 in October of 2021, and we've slid all the way to $270.13 as an evaluation by Card Ladder. That's a big difference in a year. Now, the question I have, and I'm sure the question you all have, is, well, what does that really mean? Are we kind of at a point where this is where it should be evaluation-wise? Is it going to continue to go down? Is it going to continue to go out? I think Mbappé is one of those players that can benefit greatly from a positive showing in the World Cup, but also could benefit poorly in a poor performance in the World Cup. So he's one of, if you think he's going to have a phenomenal World Cup and you decide I want to purchase beforehand and he does well, I think his prices might move north. If France does not accomplish what they are setting out to accomplish, if they don't get out of the round of 16 or the round of 8, or they don't get into the semifinal, I think you're going to see it impact his cards as well. So that's the base. And some of you might be looking at me right now and be like, why is he talking about base? Because I think base is a good avenue, especially Mbappé 27 Topps Chrome is a good avenue for some people who want to get in. You might not agree with me, and that's okay. But some people can only afford the base. Now, if you can afford maybe a refractor, that PSA 10, our pop count goes very differently from 988 in the base PSA 10s to simply 157 for the refractors. Now, again, the Card Ladder Pro, or the Card Ladder evaluation of this card, is $2,100. And again, you can see a trajectory that is somewhat downward over the past year. And this doesn't mean that he's not performing well. Mbappé is still scoring goals in League One. He's still the striker for PSG. And I think he's just being slightly overshadowed by players who are getting more news-worthy stories and also scoring more goals in Holland. More news is about Holland right now than it is about Mbappé. It's positive for Holland. It's a little negative when you talk about this guy is a diva and he wants to leave. I still watch him score well in League One. Some of you might say it's a farmer's league, but he consistently does it year in and year out. He's a great player. And again, I come back to this idea of he has a World Cup to his name and won that World Cup as a teenager. So here's the refractor. If that's something you're interested in as well, love the refractor. But I cannot talk about 2017 Topps Chrome without indulging a little bit. This is the card that I have had my eye on for a while. Now, I don't, there are certain cards that I just kind of gravitate towards. And for a very long time now, when I started looking at 2017 Topps Chrome, I picked up the base, like I said, the BGS 9.5, all 9.5 subgrades, so gem mint there. And when I saw the purple out of 250, I was like, I would really like this card. I love this card. I think it's a beautiful card. The fact that it's Mbappé is great, but if you look at the purple out of 250, out of 2017 Topps Chrome, it just, to me, hits different. And it looks beautiful when you put it in an SGC holder. That's just me. I love the tuxedo in the background. It just seems to pop. This is a purple refractor out of 250. It is an SGC 10. It sold September 16th for $2,651. But really, for me, that card would be great as an SGC 10. I would love that card. However, I'm just kind of searching right now and trying to see, is it possible to get a PSA 9, an SGC 9, a BGS 9. But this is the card that I've kind of locked in and focused in on for a little while, saying, can I save my pennies up? Can I make a deal somewhat to get this card? And so I'm kind of looking at that card in the future. I think that it's just a great looking card, and of a player that I really enjoy watching. And so having that card, again, having the players that I enjoy watching, whether their cards go up or down, I'm along for the ride of the career. And as young as Mbappe is, it could be a hopefully a long and very great career. But this is one of the cards that I look at and say, you know what? This is a card that I might be able to acquire. Now, I don't think I'm going to be able to acquire the blue or the green or the orange or the red. And I, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe somebody correct me. I don't think anybody's seen the superfractor yet. I think that one's still a question mark. Has it been pulled? Has it not been pulled? Maybe you can help me out with that as well. But I know I've watched quite a few streams of people ripping boxes looking for color and for that superfractor. But this is a card that it's got my attention and got my eye moving forward, and we'll kind of see what happens. The other interesting thing with Mbappe, and to kind of finish up the Mbappe talk today, is that whole kind of ordeal with autographs. And I think it's really interesting to note the 2021-2022 Topps Chrome PSG set where you were guaranteed an Mbappe auto. This is the waiver factor. This is out of 50. This is a PSA 9. It sold October 9th for $4,283. The only thing that is interesting to me, and I would love to know your thoughts about this, is that Kylian Mbappe signed these Topps Chrome cards and then signed, I believe, an exclusive with Panini. So this could be the only Topps Chrome autos that we ever see from Kylian Mbappe, or any autos from Topps in general. And I'm often wondering, it's the first auto that's come out. It's also the only one from Topps. What does that look like moving forward long term? I don't know. But I love that Kylian Mbappe has autographs. I also really appreciate that they're pretty scarce and pretty rare. And I hope now that he signed with Panini that they're not just printing loads and loads or having him sign all these stickers. I would love to see the print run really controlled on his autos, because I think there is going to be high demand for it. And, when, again, basic economics, the demand outpaces the supply, there's a pretty good market for those autos out there. But I did want to throw that out there as well, because for so long we didn't have an auto, but there are autos out there and you can look for them. It's just going to cost a little bit to get your hands on one. So let's talk about who's hot, right? I am pumped to talk about that this week, and I think it's somebody who's slightly overshadowed by what is going on in his own team in Erling Haaland. But who's hot? For me, it's Phil Foden. And one of the things that I absolutely love on Instagram, and it may sound super, it's something I look forward to every week, but every Friday, if you don't follow Chicago Soccer Cards, he does Foden Friday. And it's one of those things where I have always just every Friday, it's one of the things that I look at. I'm like, I haven't seen the Foden Friday yet. I got to look to see what card he's posting of Phil Foden. But Phil Foden is flying, and he is having a great start to the Premier League. And he's also been playing well in the Champions League as well. Through 9 games, he's got 6 goals. He's got 3 assists. Champions League, he's got a goal in one of his 3 games. The card I chose is the Optic card, the 2018 Optic Holo. It's not because this is the only card of him. It's not, I just picked this one. I just picked one card because he is really playing well and in prime form. And as that rolls into the World Cup, I think that could benefit England greatly. But this last one sold for $189.99 on September 16th. You can see that kind of the sales in general. I drew a line at the $150 dollar mark for a PSA 9. You can see that this card did go pretty high in early 2022, got close to $400, has kind of resettled and kind of done, the little up and down and up and down. And I do want to just point your attention to, people are all obviously watching Man City for Erling Haaland. And I think Foden is starting to see a little bit of a price increase based on the goals that he's scoring. Just had his first hat trick for Manchester City. But watching his quality and in that Manchester City side, you're seeing a rise in those prices. The one thing that I would be is if a player is playing well, be careful on when you buy. If your goal is to move that card for a profit at some point, you don't want to get to a point where you're buying at the top. And some of you probably, you know that already. But even for me, I get super excited when I see players play really well. I'm like, oh man, they just had a hack. I'll go and buy, or I want to buy that card. And I tend to fall into, I buy it first, and then I look at the research second. I've got to do a better job of flipping that around. I'm still, I just get super excited. I want that card. Maybe some of you can relate. I got to pause. I got to take a deep breath, and I got to say, okay, what's the market doing? And Card Ladder Pro is great for that. It's really helped me kind of say, okay, where is his market gone? Where's it been? Where's it going? What is it looking like? Is now a good time to buy this card? Or is it better to wait and to see what happens? Now, with the waiting piece, you could get it for a cheaper price, or Phil Foden could have the World Cup of his life, and it's never going to be the same again. So you got to kind of make a rational decision. But for right now, Phil Foden is definitely who's hot. Who's not? I said at the beginning, it's somebody I wouldn't panic about yet, but we got to talk about Gavi, right? I mean, goose eggs across the board. We're 2 months into the season. I understand, 18-year-old kid, still figuring it out. But 8 games in for Barcelona, with the quality he has around him, no goals, no assists in 8 La Liga games. Champions League, 3 games, no goals, no assists. And some of you might be looking at it being like, well, yeah, but he's 18. How much is he playing? I think he's in the starting lineup almost 90% of the time. So he is not producing goals or assists for the team. Now, could that change? Again, I'm not panicking on Gavi. The kid is 18 years old, and he's playing in La Liga. Give the kid a chance to figure it out. But right now, he's a who's not, because he just doesn't have the production. Now, could that change very quickly? I personally don't like to give up on players, especially really young players. Now, could there, could you have a Dele Alli who kind of has fallen off and continues to fall off? Yeah. But how many people in the soccer community were writing off Vinicius Jr. when he wasn't doing what they thought he was going to do at the start of his Real Madrid career? And look at him now. So I think we got to give these guys time, but currently in the who's not, Gavi for me is on that list. That brings us back. Apologize. I'm talking ahead of it. I was almost getting into predictions here. We've got to look at a few of his cards. 2021, 2021, 2022, Merlin. This is the blue refractor. It's just the solid blue refractor out of 75. One just recently sold October 10th for $117.50. Now the top's chrome. This is his rose gold. No, it's not. It's the pink refractor. I'm sorry. Out of 175. And that sold for $77 on October 9th. This is where production on the pitch maybe doesn't match the prices people are paying right now for Gavi. Now, maybe that's a price that people are looking to pay for future, that he's going to continue to progress and play well and they want to get in. That's fine. But for me, when you're throwing up goose eggs in 2 months in La Liga and you haven't scored a goal or an assist in the Champions League, I start to look at it from a perspective of, I want to see you produce before I'm going to invest. Or I shouldn't even say invest, and before I want to purchase the cards that are out there that you have. So just be cautious as you look at Gavi. Definitely always look at how they're producing, what they're doing in their leagues, because, a little bit of a red flag when it's all zeros across the board for me, especially when you can be feeding in the ball into, you've got Lewandowski, you've got, Frankie de Jong, you've got so many people that can play in that Barcelona side. And the fact that it's all zeros, it doesn't sit well with me. So let's go back to Group D. Prediction time. So I think, to wrap it up, I think France and Denmark will get through this group pretty easily. Hey, I just again want to thank you. If you've made it this far, thanks so much. And for all of you who continue to reach out to me and just encourage the show and to ask questions and to really communicate with me, it means the world to me. Again, my name's Andrew at St. Croix Cards on Instagram. Feel free to drop me a line if you have any questions. If there's anything you want me to talk about in groups coming up, if you look at the groups that are coming down the line, please feel free to ask or even to see if I can mention anything on screen. But it has been a phenomenal leg of our journey. Can't wait to see y'all next week. And just think, next week we are that much closer to the World Cup. Catch y'all later. Make it a great day.